Did I tell you, Jay, the story of my great-grandfather and the mob?
Dude, why is it that every time you divulge a little information, I'm like, dude, should I be around you?
So I'll tell the story and how it relates to our topic today, but great-grandfather owned the Buena Vista in San Francisco, which is a historic, if not one of the most historic, well-known bars and restaurants in San Francisco at the cable car turnaround, right, with an amazing view of Golden Gate Bridge. They were famous for Irish coffees.
But wasn't he Italian?
Yeah, Canepa.
And what generation is he? Was he come here from Italy?
This is around the same time that we were talking about, actually. So he's an established San Franciscan. He is an inventor, just like I know that your grandfather was.
I can't wait to tell you what my grandfather tried to invent.
We have 3 patent pending inventions from my...
Still pending?
Still pending. No, not pending. But we're going to get into all of that on the Dust Up. Welcome, everybody, to the Dust Up. I am Al Madrigal, joined by my good friend, director, actor, writer, Jay Larson. What else? What don't you do,
comedian.
Jake? Oh, yeah, comedian.
We both do a lot of things.
We do.
You know what I mean? Which is why we're at the new studio at All Things Comedy right now.
Loving the new studio. And apologies to you emoji-loving people commenting on the...
Some people commented on one of the episodes.
How it looked, just in terms of our green screen. Because we're doing so many things, we are going to be at different locations. It's just how it's going to be.
It's just tough. And we have families, we have things we got to juggle. And I said, I go, Al, some people are like talking about us being on Zoom, and he's like, oh, these emojis. And I was like, I know.
Straight face emoji. What's up with this background?
Who can get mad? Who's gonna take anyone serious when you throw an emoji?
Nobody.
I'm just like, all right, I got you.
I've used the crying, laughing one just because I'm too lazy. If somebody posts something funny, I'll give them 3 crying.
You know what I always want to do? I always want to send prayer hands, but then I don't want them to be white. I'm like, why do I always get white prayer hands?
I give some people the fire, and I give some people the raise the roof, and I give some hearts out,
What
too.
Raise the roof is there, Al?
Isn't that a thing? Isn't it the 2 hands going like this?
Please stop. You can no, Al, this is not a thing, dude. By no means.
That's an emoji. This one.
But do people still raise the roof?
They raise it. Now raise the roof. If that's not what that is,
I don't know. But you should.
Every time I do it, I feel ridiculous.
You have a teenager and you have a 20-something-year-old. Can't you go to them and be like, "Hey, is this cool if I do this?" And they can tell you.
They would say, "Absolutely not.
Exactly.
Nothing I do is cool," and I agree. Anyway, we're going to be at various locations. This is the show that gets into famous fights, feuds, and melees. And yeah, today we are talking about Edison versus Tesla. Now, both guys come from very different backgrounds. You have Edison, who is more of like a working class, middle class guy. He's not a great student. And
isn't that the greatest?
I love
you're
it.
You're genius, but you're not a great student. It just goes to show you the public school system is flawed.
It's all C students are CEOs. Inventors and people that are creative have a difficult time with paying attention in school.
I flunked classes. That's why some people call me a genius.
I was one of the worst students at my high school. You know, they ranked all the kids easily the worst.
I know you weren't the worst.
I think I might have been the worst. We can go back. We should actually check that. I remember going at the end of my senior year, going to Dr. Parker, who was a physics teacher, and he did something
Your high school
funny.
had doctors at it?
Yes.
Jesus Christ, Al.
So I should have been.
My teachers didn't even have like high school
credentials.
Degrees. Yeah,
they didn't have teaching credentials. Yeah, there's guys off the street. Hey, what do you know about
Lawson? You got fucking no.
Yeah. So this guy, Dr. Parker, did something funny. He posted the grades. These are the final grades.
Yeah.
He hit return 8 times and then put mine.
No way.
Yeah. And it said Madrigal 53. And I walk up and I go, "Hey, Dr. Parker, looks like I'm in danger of failing this class, huh?" And he goes, "Mr. Madrigal, for students like you, I don't believe in F's. I believe in B's. Have a great summer."
No way.
Yep. And that's pretty much how I got by. Ben Kalin, who's one of the producers on this show, he was the editor of the school paper, and I had an article in the paper. And he had an office.
What did you have an article? Were you a contributor, or did you had something to get out?
It's called Ask Al, very popular.
You did not have first of all, how often did this paper come out? We had a high school newspaper, came out once a year.
Oh, we were busting these out. Was it weekly? I believe it was weekly. We were putting these things out on the regular.
You had your own column, Ask Al?
In the back, very popular. First thing everybody turned to, I think.
Of course. What do you think? They care about what the school lunch thing was happening?
Anyway, we kind of it was like Rushmore. I was involved in a lot of activities.
Hold on a second.
Anyway.
Do we need to have a segment on the Dust Up called Ask Al?
You could.
Let us know if that's something that interests you. If you want to get an Ask Al out there, just let us know.
Well, we have that. If people want to talk about their beefs, they can come to us and they can write at the Dust Up. We will talk and get into your beefs. By the way, Travis, has anyone written in to us? Do we have any messages? Nothing yet. We have one podcast out there. At this point, the time we're recording, no one has written in with their beefs.
Something else to know, these aren't going in sequential order when we record these things.
Yeah.
Okay? We're just not going to be able to do that.
Yes.
We get things, we like them. If something's topical, we're going to throw it up.
Because we're doing so many things.
Get back to Ask Al.
We are busy. Anyway, I, like a lot of other folks that are creative, like our Edison, are not the best students. So he goes and works for the Telegraph, which is new technology at that time. He's fascinated with...
What age are we talking?
I mean, these are the late... he's young. So at
like
22,
teens?
I believe he has this. I got this in my little yellow book, which will be a go-to for me. But not a great student. At 22 years old, he invents the stock ticker.
No way.
Yes. So this guy, I believe it's 1,063 patents by the time he wraps it up.
Let's be honest. 163 patents, some of them are probably...
1,063 patents.
Jesus, get over yourself. Some of those are probably ridiculous.
They are.
You know what I mean?
He's got some hits under his belt. And
he's the Beatles, man.
Dude, at 31 years old, he's the most famous inventor that is out there. He creates the phonograph. So he's the first guy.
And he created the song, Phonograph.
Actually, first recording, Mary Had a Little Lamb. You can listen to it right now. Travis, you want to drop that baby in there?
The first words I spoke in the original phonograph. A little piece of practical poetry. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
There it goes. Mary had a little lamb. That's what he decided people were going to hear for the very first time.
First thing ever on the phonograph?
Yes. What he would do also is he would establish these patents and then wait for people to improve whatever technology was out there, and then he would also then improve his technology.
Oh, he's like the James Cameron.
Exactly. So and how is that related again? What did
James Cameron, the reason he took so long on Avatar 2, he was like, I know that technology is going to advance, so I'm just going to wait. He's like, I'm not going to go make it right now. They are going to improve all this AI and all this technology. I'm just going to sit back. And
makes sense.
And then he designed, I think he created cameras on his own, like designed them to, like he's the only person that has those cameras. I can't speak officially on that.
So eventually, and we want to talk about this invention in particular, but the light bulb comes his way. And he needs plugs and cords to go along with that. He also did something with his money that is incredibly important with his success and all of his patents.
Well, I think it's important to note, Al, that you told me he didn't come from money.
He did not come from money. And
first,
what I think and Tesla did, and you're going to talk about Tesla.
Don't tell me what I'm going to do, Al.
Sorry. I don't know why I find you funny. All right. So Tesla comes from money.
Right.
This guy, and I think that's interesting because this is also how I grew up, lower middle class household in San Francisco. We're going to see on the they say the nice side of the park, but there's nice pockets and districts everywhere in San Francisco. but we go to like the really nice neighborhoods, and I'm looking around as a kid, and it definitely did motivate me to hustle. But this is what Edison does that is incredibly important to all of the patents he holds and his success, is that he starts a research lab. It's the industrial research model that is still used today. So if you're working at Google and you come up with, you sign that contract and you start inventing software while you're on Google on their payroll,
Yep.
they own that.
Of course.
So Edison has his own laboratory, and he's got a ton of ideas of how you could, and again, we'll go through some of his patents, but he now is employing all these guys to just run with his ideas, and anything they create on his dime.
Sure.
But he was also, this is what he was doing when he was working for the Telegraph. He got fired because he was experimenting with batteries, and acid leaked from the batteries, went through the floor onto his boss's desk and melted and ate through his boss's desk at the Telegraph. So that's how he gets canned from there.
Can I tell you a similar acid story?
Yes.
As a kid, I had a pillow with a pocket. You know what I mean? And I would hide like
Acid.
candy in there. Like I remember it was Easter and I hid a bunch of Easter candy. So when the lights go out and I'm in bed, I just reach and grab some candy.
Whoa. You have a pillow with a pocket.
Yeah.
So it had a sewn pocket. This is something that someone made for you, like out of old jeans.
No, Al, it wasn't made out of. I can see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was this pillow, square pillow with a train on the front, and on the back it just had this pocket. Like you could, it wasn't a zip, it wasn't hidden. You had a pocket, and I'd keep a flashlight in there. I'd have like little toys in there. I was a night owl. I had candy in there, and one night I'm eating the candy, and I stick my hand in. I grab the chocolate. I remember it was like pastel, like from Easter. And I grab it and it's slimy. I'm like, oh, it's wet. And I eat it. Oh. It's not. It's battery acid. Oh. And then I have to run downstairs. I grab my toothbrush out of my bathroom that I share with my mom across the hall, go downstairs to the other bathroom so I don't wake my mother up, and I'm brushing furiously. My kids think it's a hilarious story.
You don't brush your teeth. You turn into Harley Quinn, right?
Yeah, totally.
Totally. Superhero.
Maybe I have why didn't I get a superpower? Acid face, they could have called me.
You just spit it on people.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I do want to talk about some of Edison's inventions. Let's look at those. He comes up with quite a few things, but these are the greatest hits. Automatic telegraphy. Guess what else he invents?
What?
Cement.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, my dad owns cement.
You ever heard that?
Seriously.
Do you know that comedian Rory Scovel?
I do know. Oh, the guy with the beard?
Yeah,
he has a beard
with the beard.
Sometimes?
He does a really good joke for his work, really good joke about the invention of cement, how no one really knows what's in cement.
Nobody knows what
Nobody
makes
knows.
it. Yeah.
Well, fucking guess Edison did.
Nobody knows. Electric light and power system, electric lamp, and then electric pen, which is interesting. It was a printer. Fuel cell.
Wait, what was the electric pen?
I don't know. I can click on the link and find out. But
I
it
do
seems
remember
to be a printer. So that's what he was using for the stock ticker. It's going to write out. So he was basically converting telegraph to words. And that's why the electric pen. Motion pictures, also him. A loudspeaking telephone, quadruplex telegraph, again, stock ticker, storage battery, telephone transmitter, tinfoil phonograph, wax cylinder phonograph, and I think he bit that off somebody.
We got it. You did the phonograph 5 different ways, dude.
Yeah,
Get a new hit.
A vote recorder, but greatest hits: storage battery, light bulb, and
Dude,
then
how hard of a brag is light?
Yeah, my dad.
You like all this shit around you? That's me. That's insane.
So I wanted to run through these because this is interesting, and this is from Marcia Nelson, because a lot of these ideas at the time, think about this, we're at the late 1800s.
Sure.
And people are just throwing patents out there left and right. And I want to talk to you about your grandfather's patents, and so it's a great time for this. But
can we also say, like, this is a time, are you going to say that he's stealing?
He's a thief.
You could do anything you want. You could murder someone in a country and then flee that country south of America and go up to San Francisco and start a whole new life.
Well, so here's some things that I'm just going to do a quick top 10, and we're going to
Top 10, Al?
of stolen items. Monopoly, the game. Right?
He
That
stole-
No, not him, not Edison, but I'm just saying these are stolen ideas.
Got it, Al.
And I'll do Edison's last. So Monopoly was actually invented by a woman. In fact, it was created by a bold and progressive woman by the name of Elizabeth Maggie in 1903. And the game was called the Game of Owners, and was used to demonstrate the tragic consequences of land accumulation, which is an issue now. Although his story is well known, many still claim that Charles Darrow is the legitimate inventor. He just stamped on his name on something that didn't belong to him.
Dude, board games back then must have been like apps today, or like video. I mean, how crazy! Like
How
no
do
one
you
knew
even get the word out of a game?
where the World's Fair.
Yeah, okay. So the
Don't just discard that, Al.
no,
That could be
the
true.
World's Fair comes back into play because
I know it does.
Okay, so this is good. That's a good tease
Thank
for
you.
what we're going to
Thank
talk
you,
about
Al.
in terms of AC and DC. The sewing machine stolen, and the
What year
Singer
was that?
Corporation. So I don't got the year here. Television was a stolen idea. RCA. You'd think that Vladimir Zavorykin of RCA, the electronics company, invented that. No, he did not. It was actually invented by a guy named Philo Taylor Farnsworth, and he had 160. The
All
phone.
right, just give us the phone stolen.
The laser was also stolen.
What kind of laser?
What's that?
Like the cat laser that you get your cat dancing around? By the way, all these things, as much as things people could just murder back then, you could just claim that you came up with the thing and try and lie about it.
Yeah.
You could just show up at a town and say you invented the laser.
Millions of dollars in royalties hang in the balance. The radio. This is Nikola Tesla. Tesla actually invented the radio, but that was sort of taken from him. A lot of people are using this foundation of technology that's being established and then piggybacking on it, but their thing doesn't exist without Tesla's
You
thing.
also kind of need someone to be
Marconi.
the face of certain stuff, don't you?
This is a big one. Jack Daniels. They actually came clean on this. So the Tennessee Whiskey Distillery claimed that while slaves helped create the recipe, the exact process that made Jack Daniels so delicious belonged to the founder, Jack Daniel. However, in 2016, the company that owns the distillery, Brown-Forman, made headlines when they finally decided to give recognition that they owed to the slave who actually created the whiskey. Facebook.
And
now,
who you mean reparations?
yes, that happened.
I believe it. I love it. 2016. They're like, you know what? This is a good PR move. Why don't we give some money back to the one slave?
Yeah. The bulb, the history of the light bulb, and then we'll get into our topic for the day further, but because I want to talk about the dust up itself. The bulb, the history of the light bulb shows while Thomas Edison was a brilliant inventor, he did not invent the light bulb. Heinrich Goebel invented it after trying to sell the device to Edison in 1854.
Edison's like, I'll do you one different.
No, he said, I don't see anything useful at the time. But shortly after Goebel's death, he bought the patent from his widow at an extremely low price and claimed to have invented the product. So I would like to wrap up my Edison portion of this saying, Edison, savvy businessman, cutthroat businessman,
Cutthroat.
not a good dude.
But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know. I mean, how many businessmen? I have friends that go, I'm not going to go play a Trump golf course because Trump, right? And I don't play him. But at the same time, it's like, do you think any human being who owns a golf course is a cool hang?
Well, that's
Anyone
what we were
who's got
talking about, live golf versus the PGA,
Sure.
which could be its own episode. Like, they're like Saudi blood money.
Right. There's blood money in the sneakers you're wearing right now. There's blood money in F1. There's blood. It's everywhere. Do you think Steve Ballmer is a great dude? I don't know. Maybe he is.
I think he might be a good guy.
Yeah, actually, I've heard really nice things about him.
Of all
But
the
you get what
people
I'm
have to
saying.
go after.
I don't know. He's the first one that came to mind.
But I think with anyone that is successful or anyone who's even present now, and we talked about this, like at some point in your family history, somebody clubbed somebody over the back of the head with
Yes.
a mutton bone for survival. So we are all here because somebody in our family tree and stabbed a dude in the face.
I mean, Edison, maybe at some point you had enough money, bro. Like, you got to look at certain people. Look at people in our industry. You're kind of like, hey, Kevin Hart, dude, when is it going to be enough?
He wants $1 billion.
Yeah, when are you going to? Okay. The Rock does a lot of good things. You see him giving money away all the time, but it's like, when Mark Wahlberg, when is it enough, dude?
That's the other thing, is that those guys are entrepreneurs, and I have a little bit of this, and like, watch all the great things I do with my money. I'm not just spending that money on myself. Like all the scholarships that I've already started a bunch of scholarships, and I'm just saying, like, Kevin Hart, The Rock, Mark Wahlberg.
100.
There's a lot of charity going on there.
I know, that's great
them,
stuff.
So.
And that's use it for good. Edison seems like that guy was just like, nah, man. Also, if you come from no money, you might come from a place of scarcity that there's never going to be enough money. And back then, who knows? I don't know what, like, a dollar got you. You know what I mean? Or what he was living in. There will be blood. That's what the whole thing is. You know what I mean? And the way his son died.
Sure. So why don't you talk about a little bit about Tesla, and then we'll talk about how they meet up, and we'll talk about, I'll do my best to summarize AC versus DC in terms of the current.
Because that is the ultimate dust-up.
That's where the dust-up comes in, is that Tesla meets Edison, and we have these two different
backgrounds, two different ways of approaching life,
Correct.
a way of approaching their gift and their talent
business,
and their science.
And you have one very savvy cutthroat businessman versus this wealthy kid who travels out to meet Edison.
Sure. My breakdown's a little more concise and a little more Tesla, Serbian origin. Born in 1856, small village in now Croatia. Aristocratic and talented family. His father spoke 12 languages and was said to have an incredible memory, math skills, and a propensity to daydream. Kind of love that, by the way. Tesla's father was a stern but loving Orthodox priest who was also a gifted writer and poet. In 1873, Milutin was awarded the charter for the highest honors of the Austrian emperor himself. His mother was from an oldest families in Serbia and was skilled in hanging. This dude was just high lineage, dude. Talk about, she even invented a loom without ever setting her eyes on such a tool. She invented her own loom. So clearly he's coming from intelligent people with means. Do you know what I mean? Do you ever meet comics that grow up filthy rich and they just have the ability to, like, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to try this character constantly on stage because they just have this freedom to not worry about if it's going to propel them into stardom. You know what I mean? I feel like that's what you have here with Tesla. Known for his amazing mind, at 25 years old, he got his first job as an engineer in Hungary, then moved to France, where he worked in a subsidiary of what would be his biggest rival, Thomas Edison. In 1883, he went to the United States to work with Edison himself. Edison was 6 years older and had just patented the light bulb. Two instantly clashed. Here's an interesting thing. I think one of the most interesting things about Tesla, Al, never married, never had a woman. I think he was celibate his whole life.
Because he believed that male masculinity was a driving force in his creativity. Yeah.
Which is wild.
Well, you have actually a lot of, I always relate this back to comedy as we do on the show, but there are a lot of comedians that are so driven that you never see them with families. I put you in a category. I do Tom Papa, myself, you. There's a lot of people that really go all in on career so much that they stay away from relationships. The boxers do the same thing.
Family. Pete Sampras, dude. Pete Sampras would never sleep in a bed with anyone he was with. He was like, when I'm on the court, I'm alone. I need to have that mindset.
Wow. All right.
Not me.
He was also mentally ill. He had
Pete Sampras?
Yeah. Probably a little bit. But I think everybody that is this driven and dedicated, like a Kobe Bryant, has a little bit of what Tesla had, and their OCD.
Well, he did admit to falling in love with a special white pigeon that used to visit him.
Yeah, crazy.
It is crazy, but it's kind of rad. Like, isn't that what you want from your inventor? Oh, you mean the guy out there talking to the pigeon right now? Like, the thing you love about Van Gogh is the dude is willing to cut his ear off. That's how Pat, he's like, you want to see where my art comes from? Right here. And I think that Tesla, correct me if I'm wrong, looked at his science and his creativity as a gift and almost like an art form. Like, hey, this is for the greater good. I don't care how much. Now, was he a bad businessman? 100%.
The worst businessman. Like, just
The
terrible.
worst.
He lost. He gave up all of his patents. So they both had benefactors. They had one. Edison had
At some
J.P.
point you will,
Morgan,
right?
yes, and then
And Tesla had Westinghouse. right?
Westinghouse, correct.
Yeah.
I don't want to step on your.
You're not,
Tesla.
because you obviously prepped way better than I did
No,
on this,
I just say it was
which I think is great.
reading a little bit. So let's talk about DC versus AC, or just and to wrap that thought up, Tesla, not a great businessman. Westinghouse controlled all of those patents, and I think Tesla. I mean, we'll get there eventually.
Can I give you my
but
grandfather's
dies alone.
patent now, or do you want to hold on that?
No, let's talk about the grandfathers because we have inventors in our families, and I think that's also lends our. That's
Yeah.
maybe where you get you being creative from.
Sure. My grandfather tried to be an inventor, and his patent, his one big patent that he applied for, my brother has a patent, and he didn't get, was to put sound to film.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he had a reel-to-reel in his basement. When he was a kid, he built his own camera. He would show movies for kids in the neighborhood.
What year is this?
I got to find out.
So
I'd
it's
have to
got to
find
be
out.
like 20s, right? I mean, if you're talking about grandfathers.
No. Sound to film? I think it was, I mean.
No, when he's trying to do
Yeah,
this.
yeah. I mean, he fought in World War II. So pre that, I would imagine. I don't know. When did the talkies, do we know when talkies went away? My brother probably.
1927, talkies become a thing.
Really?
The Jazz Singer is the first film. Yeah.
Okay, 1920s.
This is Aaron, by the way, chiming in with that fun fact. That's
Nice
great.
job, Aaron. So I'll find out from my brother because he's the one with the patent. Anyway, he put up for it, didn't get it. Some other dude in France got it. Okay. Years later, my mom is working on this shoot. There's this local TV show in Boston called Chronicle, and they do like stories. And my mother was working at the dance program at Harvard, and they were doing a piece. And she took the crew out to dinner, and she's with the camera guy. And my mother's asking her about cameras, and she tells the story to this guy, and the guy looks at her deadpan in the face and goes, "That was my grandfather that got the patent, or my father, or someone else."
That's bananas.
And she goes, "Really?" And he goes, "Yes, but he worked for RCA in France, so he never got, he got a bonus. But again, they got all the money, or whoever it was.
That industrial,
Exactly.
labs.
Exactly. And he's like, if your dad had gotten it, it would have changed your life big time. So I will say, I think, so that was the one patent that, he ended up going on and running all the machinery for this like paint plant. Like he was just the guy in charge of all the machinery, knew how everything worked. The two cool things that my grandfather, I think, is the inventor of the first smart home ever, because he redid the whole basement, took a tube TV, put in the wall, it was a flat TV.
Ooh.
Second, he put a little box like this above the basement door, had a green light and an orange light. The orange light was connected to the mailbox. When the mailman came and opened the mailbox, the orange light went on. My grandmother knew mail's there. The green light hooked up to the dryer in the basement. Again, you see no wires.
And that's when you know the neighbor's home taking a shower, and it's time to peep out the window.
No,
right?
it was just so my grandmother knew the mail was there.
Oh.
And then the green light was hooked up to the dryer, so she didn't have to go downstairs to check to see if the laundry was done. The dryer light, when the dryer cycle was done, the green light would go on.
Smart guy who knew a lot about electricity and wiring.
Yep. And then he had a clear button, like a little thing, a button next to the door. You press and clear the lights. And then he put in a phone from my Nana's house to her sister's house. Her two sisters live next door. Direct line. You just pick it up, rang direct.
Fun.
Pretty cool thing. Smart home.
Smart home.
Smart home.
That's great. I'll go to my mom's text because I talked to her this morning about her grandfather's.
We're just going to cast away these inventions that my grandfather had.
I think I just said smart guy who knew a lot about
Okay.
electricity,
All right,
and he's
I'll
a
take-
genius.
yeah, I'll take that.
And I think that phone thing, you just install that. I don't know if he's making that up on his own because
You don't just install that. You name one person who's ever had a phone,
Well, I knew that
direct line.
Well, I know at the Langham Hotel in Pasadena that all the surrounding homes had the direct line to the hotel, which was an old Ritz-Carlton, so they could call up the restaurant and get food delivered to their homes. So that was
That's baller.
something that is baller.
That is so baller.
To this day, you can still live around that hotel and have access to all of their room service and all that,
my
and just have people
God.
bring you stuff
That's rad.
and use their facilities. So these are the inventions of Charles August Canepa. He was not. This is also
This is
the
your
same
great-grandfather?
guy. This is my great grandfather who owned the Buena Vista in San Francisco. He was a gambler The mob comes to.
Oh, this is the guy who's going to lose the restaurant.
He's going to lose the restaurant. He does lose the restaurant when the mob shows up with a picture of my grandmother, my nanny, leaving school.
What do you mean leaving
They show up
school?
with the photo and go, "You're going to sell us this restaurant."
Oh, shit.
Yep.
They're like, that means they had to take the picture, then go get it developed somewhere. It was like a 4-day process before they could even go over there.
Right.
When we get over there.
They're ready to fucking threaten the little girl's life. So he invented, and these are patent pending, a very popular fishing lure for salmon that was like a spoon. It was used instead of bait.
What kind of salmon are we talking? Are we talking stream salmon, upriver, or are we talking in the
I don't know
ocean?
anything about fishing. I come from a fishing family. I know nothing about it. Collapsible, this is a stupid one, but a collapsible beer opener for your pocket. This guy's a gambler and he loved to drink and he owned a bar. So
And he
he's
liked to
thinking,
fish.
And he loved to fish.
Yeah,
so
he's like,
thinking
well, I'm
beer
out
opener.
here. Yeah.
And then I have to look up what the hell this is, but a lightweight fender skirt for cars that were easily removed when you were changing a tire. A fender skirt.
I know what the fender skirt is. You know, it's that kind of thing that drops down and protects probably under the fender.
Yeah, I get that.
But it's a pending like it never even got on a car.
I think they were on cars. Anyway, so he tried to invent those things. That's what he did.
Who needs a collapsible beer opener? My grandfather's out here trying to make the world a better place. Your grandfather's like, I just like to get a little fucked up when I fish. That's all.
That is true. So
Wait a minute. So did he invent these before the bar? And what did he do post the bar?
I think it's all ongoing. He also there's
What do you mean
stories.
ongoing? Like still?
No. He's my great grandfather.
Yeah, okay.
So he was. I don't know about any timelines with him and when the bar is being owned. I do know a story from the bar that when somebody sent a steak back,
Yeah.
he got very upset.
Oh boy.
And he went back in the kitchen and he threw it down the floor and he stepped on it with the heel of his boot. And then he put it back on the grill and he goes, "Here's your steak," and he served it to him.
Yeah, I can't believe that guy didn't stay in business long. No, you know what's crazy? Because my family is Italian, and when they came over, they had a bar. That's what they had. And then the Prohibition happened, and you know what they did? They became barbers. That's just what you did back then. You're like, we can't sell booze anymore. Let's just start cutting hair.
Cut hair.
You're like, how did you guys? Did anyone go to beauty school? Nah, we just know what a cut looks good. Italians, man, they just like, we'll figure this shit out.
Yeah. He had a lot of stuff going on. I know he kept, even though he must have been a big drinker, but he kept tea behind the bar as well in a whiskey bottle. Mm-hmm. And people tried to buy him drinks all the time, and he'd charge them, and he'd pour himself a little shot of tea, and he'd do that.
That's tight.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's get
AC/DC.
into the big dust up because this is all about power. And it's all about AC versus DC. So let's talk about what is DC. It's a direct
current. Does not vary in time since the flow is stable and unidirectional. It is the current stored in batteries.
So a direct current is, and they tried to establish, I think the first one was on Pearl Street, where in Manhattan, so he needs a whole power plant to get this current out.
Yes.
And he it's a very expensive process. It's also the direct current sort of fades over time, so you need a variety of power plants all over.
Exactly. It takes energy to get the energy.
Correct. And so he would need to establish all of these different power plants. AC is alternating current that reverses itself and can easily be lowered. So it's like when you have a transformer and it's in your house, or you have your fuse box at the time, it can take and then distribute that power much easier than a direct current.
You know what? It's the exact, if I was going to make an analogy, it would be people who have a hot water heater versus a hot water, like, where it's like keeping water hot all the time.
Yeah, there's the tank versus,
hot water tank versus the, what is it called? When, like the new heating system for hot water is you have the system, the water goes through
it's
it.
It's just called a waterless. Tankless water
Tankless.
heater. Yes.
And the water gets hot as it passes through, so you're not having to pay the money to keep it heated all the time.
Waterless. Tankless water heater.
Tankless. You were right with tankless. I think, did Aaron give you that note?
Aaron was in my ear saying tankless.
He's always got something to say.
Aaron's making me seem very smart. No.
Either way, DC was obviously coming from your boy, AC is coming from my boy, Tesla.
Correct. And your boy, I don't know even how this happened, that you got a boy, but
Yeah,
your boy, T-Money, is has a better system, but goes out to meet with Edison, only meets him a variety of times, and he makes fun of him at first. I think he called him French.
Well, he was also this aristocrat. Like Tesla was this bougie, raised by a priest, celibate dude. He probably wasn't like one of the boys.
But comes out to work with him, gets made fun of, goes off on his own, finds his own benefactor in Westinghouse, and proves that his system is better. And Edison's not having it. So this is where the big dust-up starts to happen. And this is where it gets as ugly as any dust-up probably ever will, because Edison is putting out there to street children that if they bring him a stray dog or a stray cat for 25 cents, he'll give him 25 cents. And so he's rounding up animals and putting on these road shows to discredit Tesla's AC power by shocking the shit out of animals and killing animals. So he's taking stray dogs and monkeys and
Where's he get his hands
elephant.
on monkeys?
He's got his hands. He put it out to the kids. 50 cents for a monkey.
Listen, you can find 50 monkeys should get a little more than 50 cents.
I'll give you 25 cents for a dog or cat. I'll give you 50 cents for a monkey.
You show up with a squirrel, he's like, get the hell out of here with that squirrel. Who can't get a squirrel?
I got a bag of squirrels, mister. Hey, mister, I got a bag of squirrels.
That's unbelievable. I do think, though, if you think about it.
PETA.
PETA. Actually, Edison probably invented PETA off of this. He's like, why don't I put this together? No, but here's the other thing. Tesla was almost the opposite of Edison in that he wasn't driven by money. So don't you think, like, both being these two creative, scientific people trying to change the world, if your whole POV was, I just want this for the greater good, when you meet a guy who's, like, opportunistic and looking to make money, you'd be like, either one, you'd be insecure about the fact that, like, oh, this guy has a different approach than you, and two, like, that's not what I want. Like, get out of here.
Well, all of Edison's inventions were like, how can I commercialize this? So that's every single thing he did had some sort of commercial, plan in place. So he got it. And I think also, look at what is at stake here. This is why he's out there shocking monkeys to death, is that this is the future of power. And if he's powering all of these homes, they're seeing this reoccurring expense that people are going to have to pay, and there's an electrical bill. Like, it's just, the guy invented the battery.
But if I was Tesla, that would be my only sales pitch. I'd be like, this guy's out here shocking monkeys to death. That would be my whole
But
pitch.
he was shocking monkeys to death using AC, using to discredit Tesla.
Right.
So at the point, he even patents the electric chair and gets the electric chair set up. So this is Edison patents the electric chair using AC power. And they botch the first guy. They really fuck him up. I
saw the Green Mile. I know how it goes.
15 seconds, and the guy doesn't die. So he patents the electric chair using the AC technology, thinking that it's going to become a thing that he can sell later on. So, but he even tried to coin the term Westinghoused. You got Westinghoused.
Man,
to kill somebody.
This dude is hardcore.
He's brutal. They shock an elephant, but then that's when they had to raise their stakes to people. So imagining also at the time he's putting on these road shows. I mean, just shocking dogs, and he's got kids
and elephants, dude.
Yeah. So the Wizard of Menlo Park is in New Jersey, and he's got Manhattan street kids bringing him dogs and cats. This is like a horrible, horrible person who also was a pacifist. So he's got to he's going to extreme measures
because he's not a pacifist.
He's responsible.
He's a masochist.
To his investors at such a crazy time where he's just trying to do whatever he can to protect his DC business.
And I will say at the same time, Tesla was probably his worst enemy. At one point was offered 50% for his business, and he goes, why don't you take 51%?
Yeah, take 50.
Okay, so clearly it's either he doesn't want the responsibility or he doesn't care about capitalism and he was more of a guy who's just like wants to give it away as long as it's out there. I just don't think it mattered to him. At one point, Tesla was so broke he was digging graves.
Yeah, he's not doing well. But AC technology finally in 1893 becomes popularized because of their success in Niagara Falls, and is awarded like the electrical current that they'll use at the Chicago World's Fair. So
what a show that must have been.
it's gotta be
They're putting on light
super
bulbs.
cool.
This guy's killing monkeys over in the corner. I mean, he was running the show, bro.
Yeah, the killing of animals. Edison, he wrote alarmist articles, which he described the alternating current as a constant threat to homes and people. So he's really going out of his way to disparage.
Because people were dying through Tesla's mode of electricity.
They could.
Yeah.
They could. Just like all electricity. Like, you don't want to touch anything. I mean, look, even with direct current, any current, you don't want to be messing with electrical at all. You're pretty handy. Do you mess with electrical?
Fuck no, dude. I still sometimes I'm like, have you ever been shocked?
I have been shocked.
It is a wild
I
feeling.
rewired a driveway light, and my son and I like high-fived afterwards. We thought, he goes,
What do you mean you rewired it?
Somebody hit one of my driveway lights, and I opened it up, and I replaced the bulb, and then I like fixed the entire thing. And my son just said, he goes, I got to admit, he goes, I did not think there was a chance in hell you would ever fix that.
Some people argue that all you did was replace a bulb. I'm just saying, that's just the word on the street.
I repaired the wires. I had to cut the wires.
Did you cut the electricity before you did it? You have to.
It was all low voltage.
Shut up.
So it's all low voltage. I know there's 110 and 220, but that I don't mess with 220. I charge cars at home, so I have a nice 220 outlet.
Okay.
Anyway, that's the extent of my electrical knowledge. I don't mess with electrical. And my house was all fuses when I moved in, cloth wiring.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to replace all that shit.
I remember having fuse box as a kid in my house, and like you had to go down, like when a thing went out, like replace the fuse, and you would just have to just grab these old fuses, like, let's try this one.
We got Steph Tolev waiting. I want to wrap this up, and I want to talk about how all this ends.
Go ahead, Al.
Because, well, as we've said, it doesn't end well for Tesla. He dies alone.
Yes.
He's trying to date a pigeon. He
didn't want to date anyone.
He's a mess, and he loses all of his money. So he dies alone and broke. Meanwhile, and Westinghouse controls all of that money. It's a company that exists to this day. You also have a lot of, J.P. Morgan, the Rothschilds, all of these people are involved in financing Edison, and that's General Electric. And they ended up adopting the current using the AC for a lot of his inventions. And here, to this day, he is known as one of the most successful American inventors, even though he was able to kind of lift and put out. No doubt the guy's a genius, but he's also a cutthroat businessman who won the dust-up. Did he win?
I don't know if he won the dust-up. I think if you're looking at it from who was more successful, sure. But who died in peace? Just because we have money or don't have money doesn't make us happy.
No, I know.
Money can't buy happiness.
I have this little mantra I do: happy, healthy, ultra successful. But happy and healthy is always first.
And then ultra successful.
Ultra successful, like cutthroat businessman.
Your kid's like, Dad, where do I fit in there? You're like, oh, you're 4 down after ultra successful.
Happy.
You're in happy, honey.
Yeah.
I think we learned a lot about Edison and a lot about Tesla and a lot about the fact that we needed them both.
Sure.
Who do you think you are in that scenario?
I do not think there's a world where I am. So this is what it comes down to. How far do you go to prove that you're right? And I don't. I think I admit when I'm wrong a lot.
Yeah, and I gave up on trying to be right.
I don't care
a
about
long
right.
time ago. I'm just like, I'd rather just things be the way they're supposed to be instead of me trying to be right. It doesn't matter to me.
I'm thinking about one grudge I hold that I don't want to get into.
Al, what do you mean thinking? I love that you're thinking about one when there's just like 50.
There's one particular grudge where I know I'm right, but it doesn't matter. I have let it go, I think. Anyway, let's wrap up by saying write into the show.
Yes, that's something we
Please.
definitely want to do more of, is get into your dust-ups, your feuds. Ask Al. We're going to turn
Correct.
that first segment. We can open each
It's
week
Ask
on an
Al
Ask
and
Al.
Jay. Ask both of us. You can call in. It's let's see. I don't have my chat open to read all of these, but at the Dust Up.
Go ahead.
On Instagram, I know there's
The
that
Dust
one.
Up Pod on TikTok, I believe, and we have them all listed. You should be following by now.
Yes.
Let's get out there.
Follow the show.
Instagram, Twitter, now X, TikTok. Show is on YouTube. Email us. Call us. 925-727.
3878.
Yep.
Dust.
Let us know. We want to hear things, and
And
we're
you're
going
going to follow Jay on social and
Al as well.
Yep.
We're going to keep putting posts up, getting content to you, and coming each week with new dust ups for you.
Of course, the song you're about to hear is brought to you by the Flat Trackers.
It is. Al, always a pleasure.
All right, love you.
Love you. Bye.